Hello and welcome to the Easily Excitable podcast, episode number 2. My guest this week is Mr. Adam Castle. Hey buddy, how's it going?
Hello, I'm good, and thank you very much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be on such an early episode of EAP.
No problem. I'm excited and suddenly my audio is looking absolutely terrible on GarageBand and as such. Oh, it looks better again. Okay.
Technical difficulties.
Woo! We've not been plagued by them already. I wonder what happened.
Lol, it's funny because nothing works for me.
Oh no! Mr. Castle, how do I know you and what kind of things do you do?
In brief, you know me mostly through our interactions in the Rooster Teeth community, that kind of stuff. But we also have very similar interests. We're into the same kind of music and that kind of stuff, and it blossomed a wonderful friendship.
Yes, it has done.
Yeah.
And yeah, it continues to be prosperous for the both of us because
Indeed.
we have some good long chats. Just like, Adam, I need someone to talk to. And he's like, I'm here. And I'm like, yay!
Hugs. And we also visited London in like 7 seconds, so...
Oh, it was so good. We had like the best trip around.
London speedrun.
And why don't we start by talking off of that? Yeah, we were just like, let's speedrun London. So we tried to go around like all the big landmarks and take selfies wherever we were. Like, we didn't get to too many places, but we did have a lot of fun doing it.
It's true, and it was definitely more interesting than just staying at one place for, like, because we only had a few hours in London, so it was definitely better to see as many of them as possible than just kind of loaf around one. Loaf around. Yeah, that's a term now.
Yeah, that is a term, yeah.
Oh, excellent.
I'm sure that's a term. If not, it is now.
Loaf.
Yes. Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
Loafing around. Okay, so how's your week been recently? Like, how's your time been recently? That's what I meant to say.
Things have been good. It's university is wrapped up for the year because I'm currently still a student, which has been good. Got all my results back and everything's good.
Excellent.
So just looking forward to summer and being involved in things that I don't want to word it as things that I want to be because I want to be at university, but things I want to do that don't involve being in a classroom. I get to do all of those full time now for several months, so it is going very well. How about yourself?
Cool. Yeah, things are going okay. It's been a bit hectic at work. Co-workers off on holiday, another one's off. Personal reasons, so I'm just like, I've got like 3 people's worth of responsibilities to handle, and it's just stripping everything down to the bare minimum to handle. And it's kind of going okay, but at the same time, everyone knows what that's like. You're just like, oh, I've got all this extra work from other people's work that I've got to cover. So, yeah, I'm trying to handle that. This is actually the week that I've pushed out my website, my album, and the podcast.
Right.
And I don't know how well it's being received. I just hope that it's doing okay. For me, the important part was getting it out there.
Yeah. Personal goals.
And, yeah, as such, like, I'm happy I've got everything out there, and I'm glad, like, the first episode's in existence. And, yeah, I'm just, like, prepping because, I don't know, the weekend coming up, I'm going to America, so I've got to have everything ready to go to there. So, yeah.
It's a
like,
pretty exciting month.
Exciting times. Yeah, a very exciting month for me. So, yeah, things are going well.
That's good.
Yeah. It's been E3 the past...
it has.
The past week. So, what kind of things like stood out for you before I get into a long tirade about Destiny?
Well, people have been saying that Sony won it, but Kojima came with like Norman Reedus oil baby. That was a thing. And for me, the main thing was just seeing the new Legend of Zelda, pretty much seeing it exist. Rather than the fact that it's been in my Amazon pre-orders for 2.5 years. So,
nice.
But yeah, it's been quite a quiet one. It's been mostly stuff that we've all predicted. Like the Skyrim Remastered looks great. But yeah, there's nothing kind of which I went, wow, I didn't expect that, or totally blown me away. It was kind of like, yep, that's what I expected. That's what I was going to see. Cool, I wanted that game. Gonna buy that. So.
Nice. I didn't see the Crash Bandicoot remasters coming, and that's made me more excited than nearly any other game.
Yeah, it's funny. The only things that are really incentivizing me to get a PlayStation, because I'm mostly an Xbox user for kind of social reasons and that kind of stuff, and they're just kind of exclusives. But most of the things, it'd be like Crash Bandicoot and the Earth Defense Force games are now exclusively PlayStation. Those games are terrible, but I love them. So.
Nice. Nice. I saw as well news of there being a Final Fantasy XII remaster, and while that game has its problems and people are like, I'm like, that game was so underrated. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and now I'm just like, I didn't even realise there was news about it beforehand, and I just happened to pick up an article on it today, and I was like, oh my god, Final Fantasy XII! And
the Final Fantasy games are really interesting, their development cycles. It's kind of like, I wonder if we'll reach a point where they start just remastering all of them to buy time, because the next one's going to take 807 years to come out.
I know. It's been... When was the last one that came out? That was 13, so that must have come out in like... Oh, I don't know, 2000...
Because that was a trilogy.
10, 11?
I'm trying to think what year. I actually really, really like those games. And,
they're alright, but...
ridiculously long, even for a Final Fantasy game. Like, that trilogy is easily like... You could probably put 4 figures of hours into that comfortably.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I've put 4-figure hours into Final Fantasy X, so... Like,
that's because it was great.
Yeah, that's because it was amazing, obviously. So... Yeah, so like that was like Final Fantasy X is a good time. Final Fantasy 12, I've probably only put like 150 to 200 hours in.
Only.
Only, yeah, you know, that casual slow amount of hours. I'm actually surprised that I haven't put more than like 60 hours into Dark Souls 3 so far.
Yeah.
Like I'm still working on it. I say I'm still working on it. I'm at like Archdragon Peak and the final boss, so I'm just like I don't know what I'm doing right now. I just need to man up and do it.
I think what kind of stops me putting too many hours to Dark Souls is just like hate myself rage. Just kind of get to Pontiff and you're like, oh, I died again. Well, off.
Yeah, I think like when I was playing Dark Souls 1, it just got to a point where I was like, this is so dark and it's just so draining. And at the time, I was overweight, drinking. This was 2011, like October, November 2011. I was overweight, drinking, and just in the darkness because I was working from like 2 p.m. till 10 p.m., getting up at like 12 every day, and like my hours of activity on games was like 12 till 4, like 12 p.m. to 4 a.m. No, 12 a.m. Midnight to 4 a.m. There we go.
Late o'clock. Not good.
And so like I wasn't seeing anyone, and I was just like I was getting miserable, and Dark Souls was not helping me in that situation. Beating a boss though, elation and happiness everywhere, but that's not conducive to the rest of the playtime.
Yeah, or to life. So,
no.
But then the difference between Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3, which is funny because Dark Souls 3 is really a coming home thing, but like in a person, I found that's an interesting way to measure stuff when it's like, when the sequel comes out and I'm like, wow, I'm like in such a different place, but I will still get the same feels from this game.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that's, Dark Souls 3's been taking up a bunch of my time. Like, whereabouts are you in it? Have you finished it yet?
I personally haven't, but everyone in my life
me.
is a super Dark Souls fan, so it's just kind of everyone says by osmosis, that always bothers me, because osmosis is water, but by diffusion, I learn everything. I'm just in the Dark Souls sphere. So, cool. I'm a filthy casual.
Nice. That's the best way to be. Oh, I can't believe I'm getting that t-shirt this weekend. Ooh. It'll be so good. The Rooster Teeth styled one. Like, yes!
It's like all like
I'm
furry
excited.
or whatever.
Yeah, it looks like that, but yeah. What was I going to say about Destiny? Yeah, there's been a bunch of things announced at E3. Like I said, Final Fantasy XII and Crash Bandicoot remasters. They're the only things that really caught my eye. Horizon Zero Dawn, I guess, looks cool. Like, I haven't really taken the plunge into it. But then there's been all the announcements and like chatter of Destiny, which is kind of taking up my time. They've announced that Moments of Triumph are being announced on Bungie Day, so the 7th. So I'm looking forward to that coming out, and I tried to do it today to get through the Kingsfall raid, and I think midway through, I got to the second of the 3 bosses with a group. We were in there for 2.5 hours as well, like, and everyone was like learning how to do it, and like it was going okay, but it's just a slow raid when people are trying to learn it, and the middle boss is the boss where I don't know anything. Like, I know how to do the first boss, I know how to do the third and fourth bosses, but the second boss is the one that I have the hardest problem understanding, and I kind of really want to, what am I trying to say? Words. I kind of really want to learn how to do that boss so that when challenge mode is on it, I can just go through it, because apparently for the Moments of Triumph, what someone's data mine says that you need to have done all of the challenge modes in the raid. You can do it on normal, which is what I'm trying to do, but you also need to have completed the hard raid as well. And I just want to try and complete that hard raid. and just get it done as well. And I think I just have to plow through normal modes and just learn the whole raid. And then things change slightly in hard mode. I don't even know whether it's just the final boss you need to do, because people always have the checkpoints at the final boss.
Yeah.
So it's just a case of me doing that, and like that's gonna consume me until I get it done because I need to do that. The problem is the challenge modes are active like in consecutive weeks. So this week it's the final boss challenge mode. Like next week it will be the first boss, and the week after it will be the second boss. Yeah. And so I need to be able to devote times to do these, because there's only like I think 4 or 5 rotations left before the new DLC comes out, and the time will stop when you can achieve the moments of triumph. So I'm just like, I just need to get better at Destiny. But, you know, I always want to play Destiny, and like, it's fun.
My problem with almost every game is being bad at it. Like, I play a lot of Halo with my friends, just because it's really... Halo 5 is just really good. The story wasn't as long as it could have been, because I think though the game's so fast-paced compared to other Halo games, the story, it felt really short. I guess looking back, it wasn't that bad. But I play a lot of that online, and I am always the worst of my team. I don't know why my friends play with me. It's kind of, I guess, a pity thing. But I'm just kind of, it'll be like, oh yeah, guys, we won, and Adam was here, and I'm like, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I had a few good games in Destiny and PvP today as well, so I was just like, oh, I can play PvP sometimes. Like, I had a 2.5 KD in one of the games, and then 1.6 in the next one.
Yeah. And
then, like, decided to play Rumble as well, which is, like, free-for-all. And so, like, I had a few good games there. I had one game where I was, like, 0.7, and then I had to stop playing, so it's like, oh, no, I don't want to go out on a bad game, but, like, that has to happen, so,
yeah.
You know, that's just the way it works.
Yeah, quite a few people seem to be rotating back into Destiny. I mean, I've just kind of, because I don't really play it, I've mostly been playing Diablo 3 recently. I've just finished all 5 acts in the Reaper of Souls, like, literally the other day, like, no, I finished it this morning. What am I talking about?
Crazy.
I finished, yeah. And then I'm just doing hardcore stuff and Diablo. It's all-consuming.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's the other game that takes up a lot of my time. But yeah. So, one thing I wanted to talk about today, like, I actually had a topic list, and I think we're only going to get to this one topic, which is self-improvement. So, like, the topic I wanted, like, the reason I brought it up is that I'm doing this podcast, I get to talk to my friends, and I also do other things that I see to help myself in terms of trying to make myself better. I was never confident with writing, hence I write a journal every day now, and I have done for 890 something days. It'll be over 900 by the time this comes out, I'm sure, because of the way time works and days count up.
What?
Shocking! What? Days progress and numbers go up.
Spoilers.
So, yeah, like, I write a journal every day because I'm not confident with my writing. I want my writing to be better. I want to be able to write reports on demand and, like, critically assess things and, like, be able to explain my feelings in words rather than necessarily having to use them in any other way. And also, another side to this is I was never the best conversationalist. And that was one of the reasons I started the podcast in the beginning. To be like, oh, I'm going to talk to new people and chat to them and get better at talking in general. But I quickly found that I get better. I'm still better at talking to people when I know them well.
Yeah.
And I've chatted to them a bunch. And I still shy away from conversations when I'm in a large group and I get particularly quiet. But still, I'm getting out there and I'm conversing with people, and I'm slowly getting better. Like when I was around you and we were all down in London, it was very clear that I was very comfortable with everyone, and I was going around chatting to as many people as I could because it was a good chance to catch up.
It was nice, and I think that that kind of shows as well. I mean, we'd talked a few times, we've done a few of these, and we're into the same kind of stuff. So, I guess conversation. We always have something to talk about, and it was kind of weird. It was weird that it wasn't weird. That I was like, oh, hey David, how's it going? Let's go.
Yeah.
London.
Let's go. Yay! So, like, things went really well, actually, that trip. Like, we never ran out of something to talk about as well. Like, at the end of the day, it was a bit slow. We were on the train back going,
the train which we should not have gotten a seat on.
Yeah, I know. Well, you believe we shouldn't have gotten a seat on, but I am the lucky one.
It's true, you
So
are.
we were like,
We get on this train, there's this huge queue, like, we're like, oh, we'll be fine, whatever, we'll probably end up having to stand for half an hour, so we just took our time, sauntered behind the masses of people, sat on a bench, then we get onto the train, we were just like, yeah, whatever, we'll stand, and then you just turn, and there's a perfect path to 2 seats. I was like, there's no way we should have these, but we do.
well, there was a kid and a woman, so a woman and her child sitting on like one side of a table. I was just like, no one's gonna sit there, so we might as well just sit there because we're not gonna do anything. We're just gonna sit and chat anyway. So
and
it was
like
fine.
half asleepness. After we went to Chipotle.
Namco. Oh, Chipotle. Oh yeah, we went to get food. That was it. God, my brain.
Brain. But yeah, self-improvement.
Yeah, self-improvement. So like, this podcast is a way for me to be able to be like, yes, I can converse and carry a conversation. I'm trying to make it more of a conversation, but I am very good at just dominating it and just being like, I am saying all the words all the time.
Yeah, you're fine.
So yeah, like I don't know. I've put in at least 2 things, daily journals and podcasts being the 2 things that I can think of off the top of my head immediately. That I'm like, I can help myself get better at things by doing certain things. I guess also writing music by being like, I'm putting out an album, I'm going to put out songs. So I'm just going to like record them. And I finish them. I make sure I finish them. Yeah. And then I say that right now and I've got like 7 that are open and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. But you know, it's just working on stuff all the time.
But as of this week, you now have, what was it, 8 songs on the album?
There's 9.
9.
Apologies. And a cover song.
9.
You know, you won't see this, anyone, but he said 8 or 9, so I held up 6 fingers and said 9.
Yay, numbers! You do maths.
Maths.
But yeah, I mean, like, finishing something and I think so many people, especially in the modern age, and I think a big part of self-improvement is we can all be it's easy to be your own worst critic, it's easy to go, nah, that's a silly idea, I can't do that because I'm just little old me. But really just seeing something through all the way to the end, and generally you need to accept that it's probably not going to be good if it's your first time doing something, but it's okay, because everyone's bad at something, and people are usually bad at things the first time. Not many people, I mean, like, look at David Beckham. I don't think the first time he ever touched a football, it went straight into the back of the net for Man U. That's probably not how it happened.
I probably just, like, tapped it and it turned gold.
And then someone just threw money at him. But,
yeah. They're like, oh, we need this skill.
But, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. It's just like seeing something through and then going, okay, now I can look at the start, the middle, the end. So as someone who writes music myself, one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given was just finish things, because you can start 100 songs and you can write, you know, the beginnings of 100 amazing songs, but if you never write it to the end, you'll still have 0 songs, and when you get to writing the end of it, you probably won't be good at it because you've never written an ending before, you've never written a middle bit before. If you only write certain things, you'll never get to do all of it. Which is, I think, one of those skills. It's just kind of piecing things together and kind of working towards your end goal. I think, like, exercise is a big one that you see just in general with people. It's not like you go to a gym and then 7 hours later you come back and you've lost 40 pounds or whatever. That's not how it works. It's you have to kind of dedicate. You kind of need to dedicate yourself to a consistent regime of, you know, watching what you're eating and exercising and keeping that up. It doesn't count if you go to the gym once every 3 months and you're like, yeah, it's fine. The weight will drop right off.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's gradual and continuous.
But you have to put in the work to make sure
you have to put in the work.
Things.
But it has to be continuous and consistent. So, my journal, every day I write. And the podcast, every week it will come out. Like, whether I wanted to or not, there's no weeks I don't want it to come out. I've got that hunger in me to be like, no, this is going to come out this week. And the music as well, I have less of a push, but I've got to be like, I've got to finish this. I've got more of a push to be like, I'm going to pick up my guitar and see what I can do. And I'll be like, oh, that'll fit into here. And then I'm like, oh, I've got more of a song than I did before. So
yeah, definitely.
Like it's just
kind of
continuous thing.
Just keeping at things. And I think one thing which is easy. So, for example, speaking as a university student and speaking as a graduate yourself, I don't know if you can relate to this, but I had a feeling where it's one of those things at the end of this year where I kind of looked back and went, wow, I've really actually learnt quite a lot, and I'm so much further than I was, but I also have so far to go. and being able to recognize both sides of that journey. Because I think it's very easy to see, the mountain of books, or look at a guitar and just imagine all the possibilities and go, wow, there's so much stuff, and kind of get that anxiety about it. But you just need to take it a step at a time. And I think that's really talking about self-improvement and motivation. You just have to put yourself out there and be willing to take some of the knocks. You'll have some from other people, you'll have some from yourself, but you just need to keep at it, because no one's going to do anything for you. People can help you, but life won't hand things to you. And if you want something, there's no reason why you can't work towards it to achieve it. I think, people just need to believe in themselves a little bit more, and just, if you're excited about something, awesome, keep at it.
Yeah, and take it a bit at a time as well. I had to write 2 dissertations because I did I did a master's. So I've got a master's degree in chemistry. Woo, go me! But I had to do a 3rd year and a 4th year dissertation, and I was I just did not know where I needed to go. But you break it down, and it's just okay, my introduction is going to lay out what I'm going to do. My next section, results, probably. Oh no, because you keep the experimental in the appendix, so it's a little weird. You go things, results, and then or you write up a basic methodology and statement, and that kind of goes there. Then you go into that results, and then you analyze the results. So you've already got these 4 sections. That's 4 pages right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you're just I've got the experimental that goes in the end. That's 20 pages right there. 1 page per experiment. And you're I've already got 24 pages. Things are going okay, and then you've just got to flesh it out from there. It's you start with the small bits, look at it, don't look at it as a whole thing just yet. Don't look at it as I've just got this one thing to do. I was writing a journal every day, I'm just I don't know if I'm getting better. I look back at those original journals, I'm they were okay, but now I'm looking at my journals now, I'm okay, there's a marked improvement, where my grammar and structure and the way I write things has definitely improved. Listen back to the first episodes of the previous podcast, you can see there's gaps and pauses, and I don't know what to say at exact points.
Yeah.
Come to this episode or so.
Sure,
there might still be those parts, where the conversation isn't going exactly the way, but there's definitely less pauses from me, and the conversation seems to flow just better than it did in the past.
Yeah.
I think also having familiarity with the people and figuring out what I wanted to do helped with that for sure.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that as well is you're talking about the way that you wrote the dissertation. Another big part of that is definitely breaking it down, and as well as sometimes the way you're looking at it isn't the only angle. You might be given your assignment, you might be given a dissertation, you might be told it has to be 50,000 words, and you might just go, oh my, how do I write 50,000 words? Well, it's not like someone just sat and went, oh cool, 50,000 words, type, 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 type. Well, I'm sure someone has, but they probably did the several years of work before it to get there. And it's the same with writing a book, it's the same with, anything. It's not always set in stone that it's done like this. There's loads of different ways to do things. I'm totally forgetting what I'm trying to actually say.
Okay.
But it's one of those things, just because it seems one way, when you break it down and you look at all the individual parts, you might come at it from a new angle that totally changes your perspective on it, and suddenly it all seems manageable.
Yeah. So, you don't have to look at it in a normal way. You can be come up with a riff, and you can be oh, that's a really good middle riff, but it doesn't fit into anything, so I'll scrap it. But no, it's a middle riff. Why don't you try and write an intro to it, or try and write an outro to it? Or if you come up with a really good ending for something, it's you've got a really good ending there, but it doesn't necessarily need to be abandoned because it doesn't fit with anything right now. Maybe the rest of the song's already in your head, but you don't know it. Maybe it's going to come out somewhere. And so, who knows really what's going to happen in life, but as long as you're working on something, you're doing it continuously, with regularity and consistency, as well as just wanting to invest time into it. You're gonna get better if you keep doing the same things.
Yeah.
With certain obvious notable exceptions.
Yeah, and I think one thing my music teacher always said to me was he hated the term practice, or the phrase practice makes perfect. He'd always say practice makes habit. If you practice something badly, you won't get any better. Which was definitely me as a pupil sometimes. But that's one of those things, looking back and going back to the whole forest for the trees, see where you are versus where you've come. Just your ability to be in a situation. Now we're doing a new form of this podcast, looking at yourself now, and then you look back at the old. The way that you were looking at this situation is different to back then. And, that's one of those ways that you might not even realize how much you've improved. You might not notice how much more comfortable you feel with whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely there. And sometimes you do need to take the time to appreciate that. Even something small, say you're someone who suffers from stage fright and you want to be a musician. And then, you might come off stage after playing Wembley or doing something amazing. You might go, I'm still a little bit nervous, but this isn't like the time that I cried in front of my mum. She was the only person who came to see me, or whatever it might be. And that's something that my mum, I think maybe it's because my mum likes to party, but she was always like, celebrate the small things.
Nice.
Maybe it's because she likes to cook, but still.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, do you have any more thoughts on self-improvement, or should we wrap it up there?
Nothing beyond what we've kind of already touched on, but yeah, I mean, there's no magic fix for anything. People I think should try not to think about it as if I do X then I will be Y. You need to focus on the journey as well. You'll learn so much from the process of trying to self-improve, and make sure you're wanting to self-improve for the right reasons. Don't do it because that girl down the street doesn't look at me the way that she looks at that guy. If you aren't happy with certain things about yourself, like myself, I'm currently losing weight because I should do it for my health, and I'm doing that for me and for no one else. And everything that you've done with starting all the new stuff, you're doing that for yourself. And I think
totally.
Being the you that you want to be and working towards that is what is self-improvement. It's not being, more popular or fancier or smarter or whatever. As long as you're happy and comfortable, then that's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's what you should be doing.
So, one last thing I'd like to add on that is self-improvement is all about improving yourself, but that doesn't mean you can't ask other people to help you.
Definitely.
Feel free. I've got a network of friends that are all that I can go and discuss things with. I talked this podcast through with 3 or 4 different people before it came out, and the whole process I was going through. And more just for me, for self-clarification, so I can get the ideas out of my head and notice, that's what we were talking about in that moment. That's the reflection you can gain from something by bouncing ideas off of someone else is just as valuable as you being this is what I want to do. I think this is how I'm going to do it. If you speak to someone else and they're like, I think this is how I'm going to do it, and they're like, oh no, you want to do it a little bit different, or no, that's a brilliant idea. That's exactly how you should do it. That's encouraging. That's going to help you get better as well. So don't be afraid of other people trying to help you get better at what you want to get better at.
We're all human. We're all in the same boat, and it's also it's okay to not be okay. You might struggle. You might not meet your personal goals. But you just need to go, think of it as a learning experience. And what did I do wrong here? What let me down? Sometimes life throws things at us that we can't avoid, like scheduling or work and stuff, or random occurrences. But just take them as a learning experience. And your friends are there, people are there. There's 7 billion of us, or at time of recording thereabouts, in the world, and we're all kind of experiencing life in pretty much the same way. We all breathe, we all bleed. So, be nice to people and. Don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
Totally. Well, Adam, thank you very much for being my guest this week. Whereabouts can we find you across the internet?
Thank you very much for having me. People can find me on the Twitters at AdamCastle13, just because I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan, clearly. I'm on the Rooster Teeth site, if you're involved in that kind of stuff, just because we mentioned that stuff earlier, is Attitude13. And I'm Attitude Castle on most places in the internet, so... Nice. Any of those places, if anyone ever wants to get in touch with me for any reason, whether it's about music or just anything in general, I love talking, so they can hear me do that lots.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So, my name is Topham, but I can also be found under Ethafar for most things. That's YTHAFAR. There's a website associated, ethafar.com. There is a Podbean for this podcast, which is easilyexcitable.podbean.com. There's a Twitter, which is @easilyexcitable. As Adam is mentioning, all the logoing is EEP.
Yeah.
With an exclamation mark following it. There's a YouTube, which you might be watching this on, which is the Easily Excitable podcast. And I think that's about it. I think it's been a good podcast. Let's figure out how it's going.
We can look back on this in 5, 10, 50, 100 episodes, and then we'll see how we've improved both personally and in the podcast, or see what's different in our lives, and look back and have a moment of reflection as well, tying it all together, bringing it back, or Ouroboros that stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
Words.
Again, thank you very much for being my guest this week.
Thank you very much for having me.
And you're all my favourites and have the most excellent of weeks. Farewell.
Yay.